Some stories begin with love, or at least with what two people believe is love. But sometimes what one person calls love is something else entirely. A possessive, consuming need for control that does not end when a relationship does. What happened to Monique and Spencer Teep in the early hours of December 30th, 2025, was not the result of a sudden explosion of rage. It was the culmination of nearly a decade of fixation, surveillance, and deliberate planning by a man who refused to accept that his former wife had built a life without him. This is not simply a story about murder. It is a story about coercive control that lingers long after divorce papers are signed. It is about how fear can survive in silence. And it is about two children, Amelia and Beckham, who woke up days after Christmas to a world permanently altered, not by accident, but by intention. In the months since the killings, Monique Teep's name has come to symbolize the devastating consequences of intimate partner violence that does not end when a relationship does. Her story deserves to be told fully and carefully, because cases like hers are not as rare as we wish they were. They happen in ordinary neighborhoods, inside ordinary homes, to people who are trying to move forward. Monique Frances Sabotursky was born on October 14, 1986 in Chicago, Illinois. When she was just 1 year old, her family relocated to Worthington, Ohio, a suburb north of Columbus, where she spent her childhood. She was the daughter of Ignatius and Nerita Sabotursky, and those who knew her describe a woman whose warmth seemed effortless. Friends recall her bright smile, her easy laugh, and her instinct to gather people together. She did not merely attend events, she organized them. She baked for friends, devoured books, rode horses, played soccer, and ran with determination. Caregiving was not just something she did, it was woven into who she was. She attended Ohio State University, where she earned a master's degree in early childhood education. During her studies, she worked in daycare settings, reinforcing what had always been true about her. She was drawn to nurturing. By the time she became a mother, that instinct defined her days. She poured herself into raising her two children with patience and devotion. At 38 years old, she had decades ahead of her, years she would never get to see. Spencer Teep was born on December 9, 1988 in Cincinnati, Ohio. He too would attend Ohio State University, earning his Doctor of Dental Surgery degree before joining Athens Dental Depot, about 75 miles southeast of Columbus. Patients admired his thoroughness and kindness. Colleagues respected his commitment to continuing education, particularly in comprehensive dentistry and implant therapy. He was fluent in Spanish, volunteered with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and loved soccer and golf. By all accounts, he was deeply invested in the roles he played: dentist, mentor, friend, father. Monique and Spencer met in 2018 through an online dating platform. Friends later described watching their relationship unfold as witnessing a kind of rebirth for Monique. Her first marriage had left scars, emotional wounds that ran deeper than many realized. But with Spencer, she felt safe. He was patient, attentive, and steady. In 2020, they purchased a home at 1411 North 4th Street in Columbus's Wineland Park neighborhood. That December, they married in the living room of that home, surrounded by intimacy rather than spectacle. Their vows reflected hard-earned understanding. Monique spoke openly about having endured wrong relationships before finding something steady and true. Spencer promised to keep making her laugh. Those promises were not theatrical. They were grounded in lived experience. Together, they built a home filled with children's toys, holiday decorations, baking smells, and laughter. They had a daughter, Amelia, and later a son, Beckham. By the end of 2025, Spencer's dental career was thriving, and Monique was immersed in motherhood. It appeared they had created exactly what they had hoped for. To understand how that life unraveled, one must go back to August 22, 2015. On that day, Monique married Dr. Michael David McKee, a fellow Ohio State graduate who was training to become a vascular surgeon. On paper, they seemed well-matched, two ambitious professionals with promising futures. But behind closed doors, according to later witness statements and court documents, the marriage was marked by abuse. Investigators would later allege that McKee physically and emotionally abused Monique, strangling her and sexually assaulting her during their short-lived cohabitation. He allegedly told her that he could kill her whenever he wanted and that she would always be his wife. Such statements were not arguments spoken in anger. They were assertions of ownership. Family members later described how the abuse changed her, how fear became a constant companion. The marriage lasted roughly 7 months of living together. In May 2017, Monique filed for divorce in Franklin County. By June, the divorce was finalized. Legally, she was free. Emotionally, the fear did not evaporate. Over the following years, as Monique rebuilt her life, McKee built his career. He completed surgical training in 2020 and a vascular fellowship in Maryland in 2022. He obtained medical licenses in multiple states: Virginia, California, Nevada, Colorado, Illinois, sometimes allowing them to lapse. In Las Vegas, he faced a malpractice lawsuit involving a catheter fragment, allegedly left inside a patient. By late 2024, he was working at OSF St. Anthony Medical Center in Rockford, Illinois, and living in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood. To colleagues, he was another surgeon navigating a demanding profession. But investigators would later allege that beneath that professional exterior, an obsession had been quietly sustained. According to evidence gathered after the murders, McKee never accepted that his marriage to Monique had ended. He had told her she would always belong to him. Years later, that belief appeared unchanged. In December 2025, that fixation escalated. On December 6th, surveillance cameras captured McKee in the backyard of the Teepee family home. He had driven approximately 325 miles from Illinois on a day he was not scheduled to work. He remained there for hours while the family was out of town attending the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. The image is chilling in hindsight, a man standing alone in a backyard hundreds of miles from his home, watching. That same evening, Monique reportedly left the football game at halftime, visibly shaken. The precise trigger remains unclear, but those close to her noted that something involving her ex-husband had unsettled her. In the weeks that followed, a silver SUV linked to McKee was observed near the Teepee residence multiple times. Investigators later determined that the vehicle had been fitted with stolen license plates, sometimes from Ohio, sometimes from Arizona, and that a distinctive sticker had been scraped off to alter its appearance. These actions suggested methodical planning, not impulsive behavior. On December 19th at 2:31 a.m., a nearby resident called 911, reporting someone aggressively banging on her door and attempting to force entry. While authorities have not formally linked the incident to the murders, the timing and proximity added to the unease surrounding the case. In the early hours of December 30th, 2025, likely between 3:50 and 3:52 a.m., investigators believe McKee entered the Teepee home. Before leaving Illinois, he had left his personal cell phone at his workplace, apparently to create a digital alibi. The phone showed no activity during the precise window required for a round-trip drive of roughly 900 miles. There were no signs of forced entry at the residence. How he gained access remains one of the unresolved questions in the case. Inside, Monique and Spencer were asleep in their second-floor bedroom. In a nearby room, 4-year-old Amelia and 1-year-old Beckham slept beside the family dog. 16 shots were fired. Monique was struck 9 times. Spencer 7. Autopsy findings later revealed gunshot wounds to their heads, torsos, and limbs. Both had defensive injuries, indicating they were awake and attempting to protect themselves. A suppressor attached to the 9mm handgun likely prevented the children from waking during the attack. After the shootings, investigators alleged that McKee drove back to Illinois, returning to his normal routine as if nothing had occurred. Later that morning, when Spencer failed to arrive at Athens Dental Depot, concern spread quickly. At 8:58 a.m., his employer contacted 911. A wellness check was dispatched but initially sent to the wrong address, costing valuable time. By 10:03 a.m., a friend went to the house and looked through a window. He immediately called 911, his voice frantic. In the background of the call, the cries of 2 small children could be heard. At 10:11 a.m., Monique and Spencer Teep were pronounced dead. Their children were found physically unharmed. Investigators quickly determined the murders were targeted. Surveillance footage released on January 5th showed a hooded figure near the home around the time of the killings, and license plate reader data traced a silver SUV back toward Illinois. On January 9th, the vehicle was found at OSF St. Anthony Medical Center with fresh scrape marks where a sticker had been removed. On January 10th, 2026, McKee was arrested at a Chick-fil-A near his workplace. A search of his Chicago condo uncovered several firearms, including a 9mm pistol with a suppressor that investigators say matched ballistic evidence from the scene. A Franklin County grand jury indicted him on 5 counts, including aggravated murder with prior calculation and design. Prosecutors declined to seek the death penalty in accordance with the family's wishes. He pleaded not guilty and faces life in prison if convicted. If you found this case analysis detailed and informative, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.